Coming up on 744, welcome back. A man is in jail after police say that he fired gunshots in downtown Lincolnton and then threatened to shoot people. Those actions led officers to put businesses and government offices on lockdown.
Now, investigators say they got a call about the man's threat Tuesday morning after he called a news station telling them about his plans. Police later found 43-year-old Gerard Moore saying he still had the gun with him in his vehicle.
So we're going to bring in Chief Legal Analyst Collie Rhodes. Obviously, a scary situation with businesses being put on lockdown. This ended in a way with no one being hurt, which is good. But this can be a little bit complicated in terms of the different charges that he's going to be facing.
Well, he's got a number of charges out there. I mean, the main one, the largest one, is the firearm by felon. So let's start there. That's it. I mean, it's going armed to the terror. That's the one that people will see and will say, what the heck is that, right? I looked that up, and when I first got to North Carolina, I said, this seems like a really old charge. When they're talking about folks, when you're reading the cases to find the precedent to see if this case is applicable, all the cases that talk about that going armed to the terror, most of them are like he rode on horseback. They stood in the middle of town. Like, yeah, that's when you're pointing to things like that, that's where it's kind of an older law, something that's rooted in common law, not in statute, something that's just been there for a long time. But I mean, you can connect a couple things with this. I heard him talk about the phone call. So him making the call to the police station, you don't even need that. That's the communicating threat component of it. But even if you didn't have that, if people genuinely felt threatened, if they felt terrorized in that moment, then that's enough to be charged with that. And then the fact that they say it was in an alleyway, well, that's a public place. That's also one of the elements. I mean, this seems like a pretty open and shut case in terms of do they meet the elements to charge them with that armed to the terror.
You mentioned that that tip came into a local TV station that said there's going to be a threat. At what point do authorities go, this is credible, we're going to do a full-on lockdown, or just we're going to privately go track down what the threat is? I mean, those are two very different things when you shut a whole city down.
Instantly. I mean, first of all, it's a smaller town, right? So I've been there a number of times, had cases up in that county. And so I've been there. It's not like something like Charlotte, for instance, but in a situation where we just had the events that happened over the weekend with the representatives out in the other state being killed and the other ones being shot. I mean, things like that, people are elevated in terms of their thought process. And so you want to take every threat, any type of, seriously, and I would say deem it credible until you show that it's not credible. In a situation like that, it's not hard to say, okay, guys, close it down for a second. Let us figure this out. It happens a lot here in Charlotte, but on a smaller scale, specifically around schools. I remember my son went to Northwest School of the Arts, and in the area, there would be all kind of shootings. And so we get an email, hey, the school's on lockdown. All right, 20 minutes later, nothing happened, false alarm, somebody hit a tire or something. I mean, that would happen, but you want that kind of information, and you want people to know what's going on around them on a real-time basis.
Khalif, just yesterday we had you on talking about whether police need more training to deal with mental health scenarios. I'm not saying this is one we don't know all the facts with this one, but say it is one of those scenarios where they're having a mental health episode. What does that look like? Do the charges get dropped? How is it prosecuted? How would you even go improving that?
Well, the firearm by a felon has no specific intent crime, right? So that I don't have to intend to carry a firearm. I just have to be a felon and have a firearm in my possession. So that doesn't matter if he has the intent, the cognitive ability or anything. If he's done that, he's there. But that going to the arm of the terror, into communicating threats, those two would be the intent that you have to have the intent to commit this crime. So if I am just, having a mental crisis and I have to have a firearm and shoot it, but I had no intent to terrorize, scare, or intimidate folks, then that charge, I think, would be the easier one to defend, specifically using the argument, like you mentioned, something where there's a mental health crisis occurring, and that's what you want to do, go through the process. And then also, I'd say, going back to the phone call portion, I would, if that's not him, right? You don't need that component, but say if it is someone else and it just happened to be a person called it in at the same time and he's shooting in the alleyway. Well, I had no intent to terrorize folks. I was just discharging my gun. Still a charge, discharging a weapon within city limits, but something significantly different than the going to arm to the terror. Both misdemeanors, but just a higher level of a misdemeanor. So I would say, with that firearm by felon, I mean, that's the one that you really cannot get around unless you weren't possessing the gun, it wasn't in your active possession, or you didn't have any access to it. But all the reports says he still had the gun on him. That's when you really can't maneuver around with the argument right there.
All right, well, a judge setting a $250,000 bond in this case, so we will see how that progresses through the system. Khalif, thank you.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.